Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, there's some very, very, very sad news coming out this morning. I just needed to jump on and let you know what's happened. I feel really emotional actually. Obviously, I don't know this lady, Virginia Giuffre, is it pronounced, I think? And Virginia has died at the age of 41. Now, I think all of you, wherever you are in this crazy world, this is certainly, the story of Virginia, I think, is known all over the world. So Virginia was the girl, 17 at the time. Not many of you won't have seen this famous photo of Prince Andrew with Virginia when she was 17 years old, with a smiling Ghislaine Maxwell in the background. And Virginia claimed that she was sex trafficked. In fact, she claims she was sex trafficked from the age of 14 by Ghislaine Maxwell and, of course, Epstein. I don't think I want to show a photo of him. I might find one in a minute. But yeah, it was this photo that substantiated her claims that she had been trafficked to Prince Andrew, although he denies all knowledge. Prince Andrew denies all knowledge, doesn't he, that he ever knew her and never met her. Can't have been him who was sweating at the nightclub, because he doesn't sweat. He's got a medical condition that he doesn't sweat. He was at Pizza Express with his kids. He has no recollection of and this photo must be photoshopped, according to him. But despite all that, he made a massive settlement to Virginia out of court, didn't he? Even though he claimed he was innocent. This girl or woman, she's not had the best life, has she? Although, financially she has. So what? Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start with this. I feel actually really, really sad for this woman. Anyway, I'm going to light a candle for Virginia. I hope you're at peace, Virginia. I just hope you are at peace. So it seems like lately in Virginia's life, things had not been going very well. And just to let you know, they're saying she died by self-deletion. No suspicious circumstances. What can we say? And of course, recently there was that strange photo came out of her where she said she'd been in a car accident and she only had so long to live. It's all strange. But to me, she has been having. There were reports that she'd split up from her husband. She was estranged from her children for reasons that we don't know. Maybe there's some mental health issues going on there. It did feel like that photo that she released, it was almost like a cry for help, I thought at the time, like trying to get attention from her ex-husband. Maybe they've split up, she was trying to get him back. But that is pure conjecture on my part. That's just how it felt to me. It was like, oh, I'm going to die, please come back to me, that kind of thing. Anyway, whatever, this is what's happened. Gosh, I'm a little bit speechless. Anyway, hello to you lurkers, hello to people who are watching on replay. As I say, this candle is for Virginia. I just hope she's at peace. I hope she's at peace. She's had a life of abuse, really, hasn't she? From when she was young. I don't know if you ever get over that. Even when you sort of, apparently, she was working as a masseuse when she met her husband, something that Jeffrey Epstein had paid for her to do. She met her husband, he took her away from it all. It was a bit perhaps like Pretty Woman type scenario. And she went and had children. She had 3 children, but they seem to have been estranged. Anyway, I'm going to read you that article that talks about that. So I don't know the ins and outs of why. she was estranged from her family, but it seems like she was very sad at the end and alone. You know, I'm going to cry now because I just feel for her. Bless her. Anyway, hello, lurkers. Hello, replay crew. Going to see who's up early this morning. Hi, Bluebell. Hi, Chewie's mum. Hi, Darren. Hi, Heather. Yeah, it's all, you know, hi, Mello. Everything's always strange with the royal family, isn't it? And all these scandals and that. How many bodies do they leave in their wake? You know, we've got Princess Diana. Then there was another ex, wasn't it Prince Charles's ex, Kanga? Didn't she die? There's like bodies falling behind them, isn't there? There's Epstein. He's supposed, you know, there's all this. Even Prince Andrew addressed the fact: did he, you know, did he kill himself or did somebody do it to him? There's just scandal after scandal. I mean, you know, this is only one family. You know, at the end of the day, it might be the royal family, but you know, all families have tragedies normally somewhere within them, don't they? But it just seems to be a lot in this case, isn't it? You know, then, you know, there's Prince Andrew. He's the royal equivalent of Uncle Nobed. Do you know, if you've ever watched Peter Kay? Every family has an Uncle Nobed. Do you know, the one that tries to get all the young girls dancing and flirts and gets too drunk and says the wrong thing? And that's Princess Andrew, isn't it? He's the royal equivalent of Uncle Nobed that Peter Kay sort of talks about, but every family's got one. Yeah, paying off Virginia, but then saying it. No, he never met her. Well, no, never met her. Oh, here's a few £1 million just to keep you quiet. But yeah, no, I'm not admitting that I ever met her, but I'm just giving her this money. You know, it's like ridiculous. And I tell you, one thing that Virginia definitely achieved in her life is, hi, Fifi Handler. One thing, she brought attention. She was, you know, because that was brave. Apparently, when she was first asked to talk about Prince Andrew, she refused because she was worrying about her family being safe. And anyway, in the end, she came out and spoke up, and that gave other people, other victims, the courage to come out and speak out. So she should be proud of that. But, you know, who knows what's happened in the end. Anyway, let me just... so, now, as I say, a little while ago, she did split up from her husband. So... you know, whether she's got anything to do with it or not. Right, I'm going to show you this video first of all. Unfortunately, it has got a picture of Epstein on it. Horrible man. You know, we'll never get to know the truth about Epstein Island, or, you know, really who was there, who wasn't there, etc. We'll never get the full truth, will we? But let's just watch this.
When the scope of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes finally came to light, Virginia Giuffre was the woman at the center of the story, publicly sharing painful details of her own experience. In a statement to NBC News tonight, her family announcing the 41-year-old mother of 3 took her own life, writing she lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse. Giuffre said she was recruited by Epstein's girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell when she was just 14 years old. According to Giuffre, it was the start of years of sexual abuse by Epstein, Maxwell, and their friends.
It was that constant, we own the police. You can't run. You can't tell anybody. We'll never be held accountable for this.
No,
at age 17, Giuffre said Maxwell and Epstein directed her to have sex multiple times with Prince Andrew, an allegation the prince denied. Giuffre sued, and she settled with the prince in 2022, receiving an undisclosed amount of money. Epstein...
yeah, and I want to say that money that she received, it was to go to went to a charity. She didn't need the money because her husband apparently is quite rich. So the money that she received from Prince Andrew, who, of course, you know, the money you pay. Why did he pay the money? You know, he's innocent. He's innocent. He's got medical condition. He doesn't sweat. He was at Pizza Express, for God's sake, with his children. So, but here, let me pay you all this money just to, keep it quiet. And the Queen probably provided that money for him because, of course, Prince Andrew, Uncle Knobhead, he was the Queen's favourite son, apparently. He's never been held accountable for anything. He even turned up, didn't he, at the Easter, because he had been sort of persona non grata in the royal family. They were trying to keep him under wraps. And then at the recent Easter church visit that they do or whatever, he was there. He's back in the bosom of the family. It's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you did. Just it's the hypocrisy of it, and it's rotten, isn't it? It's all rotten. And this is what. So here is Epstein, of course, and Ghislaine Maxwell. She's just in love with him, completely in love with him. You can see that on every photo. She absolutely adores him. And but they were like in this weird relationship, weren't they? Because she was actually soliciting girls for him, but they were in a relationship as well. And sometimes she was joining in, apparently. She loved him so much. It's like, and he just, oh dear. I don't know. Why do women love these horrible men? I don't know why.
Epstein and Maxwell were both charged with sex trafficking. Epstein took his own life in federal prison before standing trial. Maxwell was convicted and given a 20-year sentence. In one of her last social media posts earlier this month, Giuffre said she was hospitalized after a car accident and was gravely injured.
Yeah, this was this weird tweet that came. Now, afterwards, the family said she'd released it by mistake. Now, unless she's made up, put that makeup on herself, she obviously looks pretty, banged up. And she said, this year has been the worst start to a new year. But I won't bore anyone with the details, but I think it's important to note that when a school bus driver comes at you driving 110 kilometres an hour, as we were slowing for a turn. Now, when she says we, I don't know who else was in the car, that no matter what your car is made of, it might as well be a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time. She's 41 years old. She's in the prime of her life, really. Anyway, but you know what they say about wishes. S-H-I-T in one hand and wish in the other, and I guarantee it's still going to be S-H-I-T at the end of the day. Thank you all for being the wonderful people of the world and for being a great part of my life. God bless you all. Virginia. Yeah, and she said she only had 4 days to live, didn't she? Because of this renal failure. Then, of course, she was discharged from hospital. So, it was like, what was all that about? That, at the time I was thinking, well, either, who's that bus driver that's trying to bump her off? Or is it a plea for help to her husband? Because she had split up from her husband. Sometimes people do that for attention, but I think Virginia just is so sad. Because she's just abused all her life from 14, really. And then it seemed like she had got a life together with her husband and her kids. And what went wrong at the end?
A disturbing photo. But days later, she was released. Tonight, the family says they are heartbroken, writing Giuffre was heroic and will always be remembered for her incredible courage and loving spirit. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
I mean, that picture... Look, that's her when she was 17. It's just, you don't get over things like that. If you've been sort of sex trafficked or what, no matter how better a life got, she met a husband and that, you're dealing with your demons all that time, aren't you? It never gets any better. But, or was she You know, was she actually bumped off? You just think, well, there's only Ghislaine Maxwell left now. Yeah, everyone was expecting her to be bumped off in prison. She's got a 20-year prison sentence. She's the only one left, really, that can sort of testify as far as Prince Andrew is concerned. Just wouldn't surprise me in the least if she had been bumped off, bless her. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anyone coming in. Hi, Clara. Hi, Heather. I think I said hi to Heather. Uncle Norbert, yeah. I know there was somebody else who... Julie. Hi, Julie. Hi, Nigel. Yeah. So, yeah, let's have a look at this separation. What had happened? So this was news about Virginia before she died. Oh, where's it gone now? Why has it come off there? Huh? There you go. So, yeah, Virginia Giuffre, I think it's pronounced. I hope I'm not pronouncing it wrongly, but sorry. Not sure. I think it's Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre's sad fears after split from her husband who rescued her from Epstein's clutches. So this is news. Why is it doing that? So this is a picture of her with her husband. She was with him for 22 years. You know, so they're together a long time. So the photo that of Virginia that most people remember is that of her as a teenager with Prince Andrew's arm around her waist. The picture came to symbolise her case against the prince and her plight as the highest profile sex trafficking survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, which has brought huge sympathy around the world. So she was sex trafficked by billionaire paedophile. Now, the other thing about Virginia, she was abused at home. That's how she ended up becoming easy prey to Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, because she had already suffered abuse. So Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her when she was a 16-year-old locker room attendant working at Donald Trump's. You know, what makes, I don't know why, but I have this feeling that Donald Trump's involved somehow. Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. She claimed she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew on at least 3 occasions when she was 17, including while at Maxwell's infamous London townhouse. So remember, because she said that gosh, I forgot. I've lost the train of what I was going to say then. Oh yeah, she mentioned about how sweaty he was, and of course that's the one of the things he brought up in that car crash interview he made, saying that he doesn't sweat. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It can't have been him, because he doesn't sweat. He's got a medical condition and he doesn't sweat at all, according to him. I mean, that interview, one day we need to do a react on that, because it was just, you know, he's so arrogant, Prince Andrew. He thought he could do that interview. I bet his publicity people, his media people were like, oh my God, no. You know, why did he do it? And it was just, she was so good, wasn't she? Emily Matlis, the interviewer. His arrogance, he just think he's Prince, you know, Prince Uncle Nobbed, and he can sort of talk his way out of anything, you know. And of course, what we can't forget about Prince Andrew, it's hard to believe now, but when he was young, he was handsome. And they used to call him the party prince, Randy Andy. He had that affair with Koo Stark, who was like a soft porn actress. You know, it was like, oh, you know, just sowing his wild oats. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone thought he was great, just typical bachelor, like doing whatever, you know. So he's been brought up indulged, completely indulged. The public loved him when he was young. I remember, I'm old enough to remember that. He was all over the papers with his antics, with different women and things like that. But everyone thought it was like, oh, well, he's just sown his wild oats. Of course, didn't know that he was, going off with sex trafficked girls at the time. My sort of memories of it, as I say, him being called Randy Andy, Party Prince, Koo Stark, the relationship he had with Koo Stark, the soft porn actress. I might get a picture of her up in a minute. So he's always vehemently denied the allegations, and in 2022, he reached an out-of-court settlement in New York with Virginia worth a reported £12 million. So even though he's completely innocent, he was never there, he's never met Virginia, he was at Pizza Express, he doesn't sweat. Despite all that, he paid her £12 million. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Sometimes I think they really think the public are stupid or something, that he really thinks that people are going to believe all that rubbish that he talks, and then he paid an out-of-court settlement. Why did he pay a settlement if he's innocent? Innocent people don't pay settlements. So of course then he married Fergie, didn't he? And they seemed sort of quite happy for a while. She seemed more than a match for him because she had her affairs as well, didn't she? In the end, there was the famous toe sucking incident. Again, I'm old enough to remember all this, you see. So she was captured, photos or video was taken of her lying around the pool with some other guy, and he was sucking her toes. So that was the end of that, But I expect they both were having affairs left, right, and centre. Now they're still very good friends, aren't they? She always says good things about him, but she's another one who was trying to get money out of people, trying to sell her influence as sort of part of the royal family. They're just horrible. They're all corrupt. It's all about money. That's all that matters. So it says here, this agreement did not admit liability, and he did agree to pay an unspecified sum to Virginia and her survivors' rights charity. What? Speak out. So apart from the 12 million, he also paid an unspecified sum to Speak Out Reclaim. What? But he's not guilty. He's not guilty. Of course he's not guilty. So this article came out after she posted that photo of her with all the bruises, lying on a hospital bed covered in bruises, along with her statement that she had 4 days to live. However, it wasn't long until questions began to be raised. Police said there had only been a minor crash with no reports of serious injuries, and sources close to Virginia said her post had been a mistake. I really do feel that was a bit of a cry for help from her, trying to get her husband to notice, or a family or whatever. God, this photo, I bet whoever took that photo, I don't know who took it, bet they've been bumped off. I know. They'll definitely have been bumped off. So the troubling selfie, which Virginia later said she didn't mean to be a public post. Yeah, so she ended up saying that it was a mistake. It was supposed to just be a family post. So Robert Giuffre, the sex abuse survivor, reportedly recently split from her husband of 2 decades, Robert Giuffre, and became estranged from their 3 teenage children, 2 sons and a daughter. Until recently, they'd been living an idyllic and quiet life in a £1 million seaside 6-bedroom home in Ocean Reef, Perth. So that's Australia, isn't it? She was reportedly paid more than 12 million by Prince Andrew to settle her case out of court. So it was through her husband that Virginia finally escaped paedophile Epstein after years of abuse. In 2002, aged 19, as part of her escape plan. She asked the millionaire to pay her training as a massage therapist, and he agreed, flying her to an international training school in Thailand, but only on the condition that she would meet a young Thai girl there and bring her back to the US. Oh God, he's such a piece of shit, that Epstein, isn't he? Absolute piece of shit. And Ghislaine Maxwell thought the sun shone out of his culo, which, if you don't know, is Spanish for backside. So, you know, and he was just a horrible man. So Virginia later, there she met Robert, an Australian martial arts trainer, and they married after 10 days. And she later credited him with having rescued me from Epstein and Maxwell's clutches. And when she called Epstein to tell him she would not be returning as agreed or bring the young girl back for him, he replied, "Have a nice life," and hung up the phone. The newly married couple returned to live a new life in Australia, and Virginia tried to forget her ordeal until 2007, when the FBI contacted her as part of their investigation into the American financier. So I think it's important as well to know that the FBI contacted her. Yeah. So not her contacting the FBI. Hi, Amy. So, sorry, let me just go back. I was just checking the chat, just making sure you're all okay, and go back to the article now. Yeah, and as you say, Mello, how ironic. This article is the Mirror, and of course it was Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell. Again, I'm old enough to remember him. He was he had a mysterious death, didn't he? Because he was on a boat, wasn't he? He was Robert Maxwell was some tycoon, though they say had money problems at the time. And she was devastated when her dad died, as obviously you would be. And he sort of went overboard on his private yacht, didn't he, or something? There's another mysterious death. They all end up with these mysterious deaths, don't they? You know, just shows you money doesn't solve everything, does it? It's like, my God, what is going on? Yeah, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Anyway, so she initially refused to cooperate, later saying she was scared to death. I just didn't want my family harmed. So it must have been scary. It's hard to go against powerful people like that, isn't it? You know, if you've got, something that happens to powerful people like that, of course they're going to say to you, no one will believe you, You'd also be scared you were going to get bumped off or whatever. Anyway, it was after the birth of her third child in 2010. She took the brave step of coming forward publicly and speaking about her experiences of sexual abuse and trafficking and campaigning for other victims. I'm saying these words, I shouldn't be saying them. I should be saying essay, not whatever. Anyway, just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Do you think there'll be some celebrations in Prince Andrew's household today? Do you think the royal family or anyone will issue a statement about Virginia dying? I don't know how Prince Andrew will look on it. Probably with relief, to be honest. Though he'd probably be, oh God, it's all going to be brought up all over again. But you know what they do? They rely on the fact that people's memories are short. Like people will be all up in arms about something, and then of course another story comes along, doesn't it? And so what they've done with Prince Andrew, they just hide him behind closed doors for a while, try and get him to shut up. But of course you can't get him to shut up because he's such an idiot. He does, he'll end up putting his foot in it again or whatever. But then they bring him out again, like at the Easter sort of church service. He comes out again. I feel sorry for the rest of the royal family that they have to put up with him. You know, they must think, God, as I say, he's the Uncle Knobhead of the family. It'd be like one of them, oh, God, Andrew's not coming, is he? Oh, my God. You know, like, oh, God, don't put me next to Andrew. Don't sit me next to Andrew. Please sit me over the other side of the room. I don't want to sit near him. I bet that's the discussions that go on. Keep your kids away from him, your teenage girls, keep them away. Anyway, so supported at all times by her husband, she described allegedly being trafficked to Prince Andrew at least 3 times when she was 17 in bombshell allegations that made headlines around the world. There won't be a corner of the world that doesn't know about this. I often wonder if they talk about it in China, and you know, because we never get news from China, do we? You know, we just get all the American news, maybe Australian, all the Commonwealth sort of type news. We never get news from other countries. But I know for a fact in Spain they'll be talking about this. They know all about it in Spain. But it's just interesting to wonder, will they be talking about it in places like China, etc.? I expect they know about it in China as well. Okay, so her testimony led to the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in jail in 2022. So she's not coming out, hopefully, till 2042 for recruiting and trafficking underage girls for the disgraced billionaire. So it's important to remember as well, poor Veronica, she was Virginia. She wasn't the only one. There were lots of them. So her father, Sky Roberts, also told how Virginia had been very depressed recently, adding that he was hoping she can hang on amid her family life struggles and that her younger brother is trying to get her spirits up. He told the Daily Mail, she is in really bad shape. I feel like crying. I love my daughter more than life. So, very, very sad. Very sad. 41 years old. I mean, that's no age, is it? You know, literally in the prime of her life, but she's probably lived, you know, she's had to live with what happened to her when she was a teenager. And then, you know, I don't know what happened between her and her husband. I mean, marriages go wrong, don't they? Who knows what the reason was for it, but just so very sad, isn't it? Very, very sad. Hi, David. Now then, let's have a look at, see, you know, there's probably a lot of people not as old as I am who won't remember Randy Andy, you know, and Koo Stark and all this. You know, it was a big thing when I was young. My sort of a similar age to him. I'm a bit older than him, I think. But yeah, he was always in the papers. He was like this sort of, oh, you know, good old boy, the party prince. Yeah, let's have a look at this. So of course, you know, the tabloid, if you think the tabloid newspapers are bad now, I mean, they were terrible then. I mean, like, you know, going back a few years. So look at this. This is a Sun newspaper feature on Randy Andy, Prince Andrew from 1992. Scandal of saucy holiday with 3 blondes. 20 things you York to know about Andy. This is the quality of British newspapers. I mean, do you know, I mean, they've got better, but they're still terrible. How can I go into that? So Prince Andrew is the Queen's favourite son, and he's also a big favourite with the ladies. Nicknamed Randy Andy, in his bachelor days, he often acted more like a Hollywood heartthrob than a member of the royal family. So, of course, he was like he was the spare, of his time. You know, we have Prince Harry now sort of talking about how he writing his book called Spare, because of course it'd be William who's in line for the throne, and Prince Harry, he's like the spare. You know, that's how he described himself. Well, in these days, I suppose Andrew was the spare, or one of the spares, because of course there's Prince Edward that you never really hear about much, because he's got his own scandals, different kind of scandals, hasn't he? His sexuality is in question, but you know, he's never going to come out and say that he's gay, is he? So he went off and got married, and you know, which means, you know, it always makes me laugh when sometimes if you say, oh, I think, you know, they, you know, are using my gaydar or whatever, they, oh, I think they might be gay actually, and people will say, well, but they're married, you know, as if it makes any difference whatsoever. Because, you know, when someone's in the public eye, like I'm not, you know, allegedly, I should say allegedly, you know, I don't care what his sexuality is. What I care about, I don't like hypocrisy. So he was shushed up and hidden. You know, a lot of people don't know much about him because he was hidden from the limelight because of scandals about him. Why don't they just come out and be themselves? You know, you've got Charlie Boy who was seeing Shamilla all those years. It caused all those problems there. You know, thing is, people don't get, like me, don't get angry because he's in love with somebody. Get angry because of the way he treated Princess Diana and married her, even though he's in love with somebody else, because he didn't have the cojones to stand up and say, look, no, I'm not doing it. I love Shamilla. I'm going to marry her. You know, which eventually, of course, he did. And now they're trying to call her the queen and this, that, and the other. You know, it's just not, I'm just not having that. So, you know, she will never be the queen in my eyes. So what I'm saying is there's the royal family's been rocked by scandal always. But even Prince Andrew said in his car crash interview years ago, you never knew what was going on. You never got to know what was going on. There was scandal about Prince Philip, there was scandal, even the Queen, you know, and then even going back to Queen Victoria's times, there was scandal, but it never got talked about, did it? Of course, now we're in a different age with the social media and the this, that, and the other. But even in these times, it was being talked about in tabloids. And, you know, if you're old enough to remember it, you remember it. But there'd be people who don't know anything about how he was before he got married. So let's have a look. I might need my glasses because it's not that I know where my glasses are. So I'll just have to go a bit closer to it. So friends at his school said he was over the moon when it was decided to admit girls to the boys only school. The prince was scared his mother might make him move schools when the girls arrived. Oh my God. I mean, this is the Sun, so you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. His first girlfriend at the age of 13 was Jenny someone. She later reported that he had never kissed her, just held her hand. I wonder if she's been bumped off. You know, they all get bumped off, don't they? God, it's pretty scary being the girlfriend or the wife or the paramour of anyone in the royal family, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and read all these things, but I'm just having a look. But so anyway, most of it is about all the different women that he's seen. The biggest scandal. What's this? The biggest scandal of Andrew's bachelorhood was 9 years ago when he spent 8 days in Barbados with 3 blondes. So he spent 8 days in Barbados with 3 blondes. Was that with Epstein, I wonder? So one of them later claimed she had made love with Andy in the garden. What's that? And her something. Oh, in her hotel bed and on the beach. Oh gosh, too much information really, isn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah, so he went out with Selena Scott as well, didn't he? You know, a lot of people that are younger, they won't remember Selena Scott. He had a, you know, he was just like, he was a bit of a machine, you know, like as far as women were concerned. So of course women would find him attractive because he was a prince and he was handsome. Let's just have a look at a picture of him when he was young. Let's see. He was handsome when he was young. And then he had this very well publicised affair. Well, it wasn't an affair because he wasn't married at the time. With Koo Stark. Yeah, here we go. The party prince, how Andrew got his bad reputation. And she was like a soft porn actress. You know, so you can imagine, like, he couldn't have done that if he was the heir to the throne. But because he was the spare, he could do that. Koo Stark reveals the truth about Prince Andrew. Let's have a look at that. I wonder if Koo Stark will know if he sweats or not. Oh, God, it's going to tell me. No, I don't want to go. I just want to read the thing. So apparently, oh, so she said Virginia Roberts' allegations bear no relation to the man that she knows. Well, yeah, well, whatever. You know, maybe she's been paid to say that. Yeah, let's have a look at it. Yeah, the scandal that's hit this family. All the headlines around him over the years. So, yeah, Fergie toe job. So his wife, Sarah Ferguson, this was this guy sucking her toe around a pool. Ah, stop doing this. Why do they keep flashing up these things? Oh, you've got to sign up to do it, so I'm not reading it. Don't know why they do that, because it just stops me reading it, because you can always find it somewhere else, the story. Story of Randy Andy. Yeah, so, oh, God. So, you can see he was handsome when he was young. He was handsome. I don't think he's aged very well, to be honest. So of course he had a short-lived appearance in the Falklands War, if you like. So he's he's got 10 million medals for doing God knows what. Yeah, I can't be doing with these articles that are flashing around all the time. I don't understand why they do it. Let's see if we can find anything that's not like that. So, in his interview with Emily Maitlis, Prince Andrew seemed bemused by his public image, saying, "I have never really parted." Well, you know, he's just lie after lie. Oh, so this was Andrew at Heidi Klum's kinky sex Halloween party, but he's never parted. I mean, he looks as high as a kite there, to be honest. Dear me. Dear, oh me. How can he say, why didn't he just tell the truth? I was young. I wasn't married. I could do what I wanted, though I think he might be married by the time the Virginia Guiffre thing happened. But, you know, what thing is, most people will accept that someone is human, won't they? You know, that they're human, they do things and whatever. But people don't like being lied to. Yeah. Asked by Emily Maitlis why the public perceived him as the party prince, he told her this was a bit of a stretch. I don't know why I've collected that title, because I never really have parted. It's just lies. Lies, lies, lies. So the thing is, he's so... Oh, here he is with Donald Duck. There you go. Hi, Elishiva. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, Virginia Giuffre has very sadly taken her own life. So we're just having a little bit of a look back now at Andrew, who says he's not a party prince, but he was at every party going when he was young. You know, he was at every party going when he was young. And here he is with Donald Duck, you know, probably say, oh, I was never there, never met that woman. I don't know who that woman is. Oh, it's Melania. Oh, it's Donald Trump, sorry, with his future wife, Melania, in 2000. Oh, gosh. You know, Melania's another one, and she's a beautiful woman, but she's become so hard-faced. You know, I think her beauty's been compromised by the hardness in her face, in my opinion. And look at Prince Andrew there. Oh, no, he's never parted. He looks high as a kite there as well. I mean, the thing is, he's a prince. He was invited. You can imagine, in America especially, they love the royal family, don't they? You know, as much as they'll go on about the English and this, that and the other, or the British, but they love the royal family. They love it because they haven't got one, you know. And Prince Andrew, that's why he was so popular. I mean, if he really thinks that everybody loved him for his personality, not for the fact that it was an actual prince, well, he's just deluding himself, isn't he? Because if he wasn't a prince, he'd just be your average uncle knobhead, irritating all the women up the pub or whatever. But because he was a prince, of course he was getting invited to parties. You know, of course he was. Good God. So really, when you look at this picture of Prince Andrew, so it is, I know it's 24 years ago, 25 years ago maybe, but I don't think he's aged well, has he? You know, he was quite handsome when he was young, but, you know, you wouldn't call him handsome now, not by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, he had this relationship with Kustark in the 80s. And this was a problem for the Queen, according to rumour. Oh, right, because there was a film. Oh, so one of the films that Kustark was in, as I said, they were like soft pornography. Her character gets raped. Oh, God, I've said the word again. R-A-P-D by a peer and 2 gravediggers. And he's savaged by Alsatians. Oh, gosh, you know, what a time to be alive. These were the films that, you know, they used to get produced in the 80s. You couldn't get away with it now, could you? So you can imagine the Queen, can't you? You can imagine poor Queenie waking up one morning, looking at the headlines. Andrew's girlfriend, Kustark's been in this film where she gets RAPD'd by a friend and 2 gravediggers and is savaged by Alsatians. And the Queen would be like, Andrew, you know, like, you can just imagine, can't you? So, you know, he was never going to marry Kustark. Could you imagine, even though he is the spare, even though he is the second spare, he was never going to marry Kustark, was he? Could you imagine that? You know, they did enough, made enough fuss, the paparazzi and the media and everything about Diana, who was, you know, an innocent girl when she got married. She had to be innocent to marry Prince Charles. And honestly, I still think, you think about the age of Princess Diana when she started seeing Charles. He was 30. She was only just of legal age. You know, he's not, you know, that was very on the borderline of paedophilia in my eyes. And all the time he was in love with Shamila anyway. And I had a student, you know, for those who don't know, but I'm a Spanish teacher and I've been a Spanish teacher for 25 years. I've had so many students come through my doors, thousands, and they've all got interesting stories to tell. And I had one student once, he was a chauffeur, and not him, but his friend was a chauffeur, a royal chauffeur. And the night before, this is what he told me, it is literally, you know, anecdotal hearsay. I don't know if it's true or not, but he had no reason. You know, he wasn't selling his story to the newspapers. He was just telling me, his Spanish teacher, an anecdotal thing that happened while he was chauffeuring, and his friend was a royal chauffeur on the night before Prince Charles's wedding to Lady Diana, or as she was then. You know how traditionally you're not supposed to see the person you're marrying the night before. So this chauffeur took Prince Charles to Nicholas Soames's flat. Now, I don't know if you know who Nicholas Soames is. He was a politician. He's just come out of Parliament. He's Winston Churchill's grandson. Nicholas Soames, this chauffeur, took Prince Charles to his flat in London, where he met Shamilla, and he spent the night before his wedding to Diana with Shamilla. I mean, it's disgusting, isn't it? I mean, I believe this guy because he had no reason to tell me that unless it was true. You know, as I say, it was just an anecdotal story. I expect these chauffeurs and people, you know, the people that work in the palaces and this, that and the other, they've probably got a million stories to tell. But I expect they have to sign some sort of agreement. But yeah, you know, that's why I can't bear Charlie Boy and I can't bear Shamilla. Because just horrible what they did to Diana. But yeah, look at that photo, my God. Now look at Donald Trump. He hasn't changed that much, really, when you think about it, except his hair is now sort of blonder and his face is got more fake tan on it. But Melania, you know, yeah, she's sort of, I think Melania is aging into a very hard-faced woman, unfortunately, though. It doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, who else can we look at? Let me see if there's anything else interesting in that article. So, yeah, because in the 80s, you know, when this was all going on with him going out with Koo Stark and everything, a lot more was accepted, but things were, you know, you talk about woke now. I think maybe we've gone a bit to the other extreme now. Sometimes I do think that. But when I look back at the 80s, which, of course, when I was young, you know, women did put up with a lot, you know, and you just never even questioned it. You know, it just wasn't anything you ever questioned. So, yeah, he was the royal heartthrob. So his arrival on the scene has given a new meaning to the initials HRH. With Andrew, they stand for his royal heartthrob. God. So for a while, he was just a classic royal, a wastrel, a gadabout in peacetime, but a stand-up guy in a war. And then in 1986, he married. And he married Sarah Ferguson, of course. So everyone thought... let's have a look at Sarah Ferguson. Now, as I say, it's important that's who he had his children with. They are still good friends. She's a big supporter of him. Gosh, she's not aged brilliantly either, has she? Oh, dear. Oh, I'm not sharing. Well, she's 65 years old. That's not the most flattering photo I've ever seen of her. Now, I quite liked Sarah at the time because she just seemed sort of fun, you know. Don't forget, I was young when he married her and that. And they seemed like a good couple, didn't they? But, of course, they were like pigs in the trough. And I did feel a bit sorry for Sarah because, you know, she wasn't competing with Princess Diana. But Princess Diana was probably the most beautiful woman in the world. She was certainly the most photographed woman in the world. She always looked elegant. She always looked perfect. And Sarah, although she was beautiful, I thought she was beautiful. But, you know, she could never really match up to Diana. And the press were remorseless with Sarah. They called her the Duchess of Pork. She wasn't even really overweight. You know, God knows what they'd call me if I ever got famous. I mean, the Sarah Ferguson, you know, she was maybe, she wasn't overweight. She was just healthy size. you know, but the media, the press, they were horrible to her. To be fair, you know, to Sarah, they were horrible to her. And, you know, it did seem like they had a happy marriage. I don't really know what happened to their marriage. And she, of course, she is suffering from cancer at the moment herself. Let's have a look. I'm not sure. Breast cancer, early stage breast cancer, she was diagnosed with in 2023. So I hope she's okay. You know, I have nothing against her, but, you know, she did do some bad things, like trying to get money out of people. She was married to Andrew for 10 years, and she has tried to sell that, you know, her connection to the royal family. She has done some bad things in that way. What was it? Oh, so I want to show the toe sucking incident. So it all sort of went wrong for this marriage when this photo came out. Let's have a look. Yeah, this photo came out because don't forget, at the time, the paparazzi were terrible. I mean, they would fly above people, you know, like this house, wherever she was on holiday. I don't know how they got this photo with her hiding in the bushes. They got this photo of this guy sucking her toes by the pool. You know, that's a private thing, isn't it? You wouldn't want to think, you know, if you were lying by the pool with your, well, he wasn't supposed to be a partner at the time. That was the point. She was supposedly still married to Prince Andrew. But of course, he was probably flying off everywhere with Epstein. It's not very nice, is it, to think that someone would be capturing your intimate moments. But, you know, anyway, so this guy's obviously got some sort of a foot fetish. Look, Fergie Tojo. These were the sort of headlines at the time. Oh, this was that one. Fergie sells Andy for 500,000. So there was a secret video taken, wasn't there? She was sort of catfished a bit, wasn't she? She was videoed offering money for information about the royal family, and she was actually caught on video. So, yeah. Wonder what happened to that businessman who was sucking her toe. Wonder what happened to him. Can't remember what his name is, actually. Let's see if I can find. Oh, he was her financial advisor. Oh dear, it's not even funny, but it sort of is. So, John Bryan. So on August the 9th, 1992, the Duchess of York flew by private jet to the French Riviera with her financial advisor, John Bryan, and her two daughters. Oh, she had separated from him already. So she'd recently separated from Prince Andrew and was going to enjoy a week-long summer holiday. And also with her was nanny Sally Hughes and police protection officers Graham Ellery and John Hodgkinson. Well, they didn't make a very good job of protecting, did they, when, you know, who managed to take this photo? Oh, this was a French photographer, Daniel Angeli, staking them out, having crawled. Sorry, I'm laughing because it is funny. So this guy, this French photographer, Daniel Angeli, crawled through a mile of undergrowth. And he was about to create a scandal that would be compared to the abdication crisis of almost 60 years before. Oh, my God. Well, I bet he's made fortunes out of that photo. So the group had rented Le Master Pigorole. I'll have butchered that pronunciation. But anyway, a pink stuccoed 5-bedroom farmhouse in 10 acres of land, 4 miles from the pretty village of Mimosa, before Ferguson and the children were then due to join the royal family at Balmoral. And they did not know that a French photographer was staking them out, having crawled through a mile of undergrowth. Wow. Well, I expect he's retired on that photo. You know, he'll have sold that all over the world. Yeah, there he is with Fergie in her younger days. Her financial advisor. Gosh, so this is the village where they were. 5-bedroom farmhouse in 10 acres of land, but it still didn't stop that photographer. Because the other thing is she was actually topless at the time. So it wasn't only that he was sucking her toe, but she was topless. And it showed her rubbing sun cream onto his head, kissing him, lying under him, letting him kiss or lick her toes. So obviously, you know, financial advisors don't normally provide all those services as well, do they? You know, they don't normally provide those services. So, oh, Lisa, you're a nice person, aren't you? Oh, I'll be praying for you. You know, there's some horrible people in the world. Well, thanks for your comment, Lisa, but you're not welcome in this channel. You want to be nasty? Loads of channels you can go and be nasty to. So, bye. So, yeah, so this is the background of, you know, it's interesting to go back over all this because, you know, as I say, a lot of people now won't even know about all this background to Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, etc. So, yeah. So let's look at oh, my God. Right. I don't know where to start here, really. It proved that in spite of denials that he was just an advisor, it proved that he was more than just an advisor. And the pictures were syndicated around the world. And it was later discovered that a large trench had been dug within 100 yards of the villa and the pool. The pictures confirmed that the shots were not grainy long distance shots, but close-ups. And from the various changes of swimsuit taken over 3 days. And forestry wardens had alerted the royal party to lurking photographers, but it appeared no action had been taken. A video was also taken. Recollections vary of the events at Balmoral after the story broke. The Duchess wrote in her memoir she had sat up all night drinking brandy with one of her nannies and then breakfasted upstairs, and she claimed that Andrew brought up the papers from breakfast. But the royal journalist James Whittaker claimed, on the basis of interviews with Balmoral staff, that she entered the breakfast room to find everyone reading the story. I mean, imagine that. You know, you've had this sort of intimate week with your financial advisor or your partner at the time, and then it's all over the papers and the Queen's reading it at breakfast when you come down. So then apparently she did not, although people said she immediately left Balmoral, they're saying no, she didn't. She laid low in a cottage on the Balmoral estate for the next few days. And she spent much of the time on the phone to Diana, Prince of Wales. Now, they were supposed to be quite close, her and Diana. I don't know how true that is. And a faith healer, Madame Vasso, before catching a commercial flight home on Sunday while the others were at church. And how the story leaked out has been the subject of speculation. Journalist and writer Tina Brown has suggested it was Diana who tipped off the press. Yeah, I don't believe that for a minute. You know, that'll be some Charlie Boy supporter. And the Mail's Richard Kay said that Diana messaged him the night before the publication of the photos, saying cryptically the redhead's in trouble. I don't believe that either. Anyway, but because the Duchess and her daughters were being taken abroad, the Queen and members of her staff would have been informed of the family, so the holiday. So everybody would have known she was going on holiday. So the Duchess's mother, Susan Barrantes, later claimed the holiday had been leaked by Buckingham Palace. That seems more likely to me, to be honest, as part of a campaign by the intelligence services to discredit Sarah and allow Andrew custody of her children, of the children. Seems the likeliest thing to me, to be honest. Yeah, you know, women in the royal family, unless they toe the line, you know, we've seen it with Meghan Markle, we saw it with Princess Diana, with Prissy Kate, we see that Kate toes the line, doesn't she? She goes with the flow of the royal family. So she'll be okay. But, you know, as soon as you step out of line in the royal family, as a woman anyway, you know, watch out, because, you know, you're in trouble. You step out of line, you're in trouble. I haven't read that book. I'd quite like to read that book. So, yeah, Sarah, you know, I've got sort of mixed feelings about Sarah. I would have sympathy with her if it wasn't for the fact she was trying to sort of sell Prince Andrew, you know, sell information about the royal family. That's not right either, you know. So I sort of lost sympathy for her a bit there. You know, I would have instinctively supported her, but there you go. So anyway, let's go back to the main story, of course. Let's just go back to the story about Virginia. So she's who's important, of course. Today, you know, another woman who's fallen by the wayside of the royal family and, you know, come to a horrible sort of, you know, a sad end, let's say. And there's going to be talk about this, you know, has she taken herself from this world, or is there more to it? Do you see how sort of, you know, as far as the royal family is concerned, there is this all this horrible sort of tragedies that follow them around, you know, line up behind them. And Virginia's just the latest one. You know, a girl who was trafficked since she was 17 years old. Everything she's gone through, and then, you know, found some happiness, thankfully, with her husband, but it seems like that all went wrong. It's hard to get over abuse. You know, it affects you in so many ways. And if, you know, I mean, they're saying no suspicious circumstances, so let's suppose that's true. Then that means she's done it to herself. She must have been very unhappy. I just hope she's at peace now, whatever the truth is. 41 years old, bless her. I mean, it's just no age, is it? And you look at that young girl that she was. And she won't have even realised at the time she was being trafficked. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for a young girl who'd already suffered abuse, for, you know, and then you've got this sort of multimillionaire and whatever, you know, offering you the world. And, you know, young people, their heads are turned by things like that. And, you know, it's, anyway. So I've got to love you and leave you now. Oh, what happened there? Can you hear me okay? Seem to have... Can you hear me? Hi, Unique. Hi, Nick. Yes, you'll be able to. It'll be on the channel, Nick. You'll be able to catch up with it. We've had a talk about Virginia, of course. Then we were talked about. We've had a little chat about Randy Andy, the party prince, who wasn't a party prince, according to him, he has no idea why people ever think about that, about him. You know, and of course it wasn't him, because he doesn't sweat. It's impossible for him to sweat. He's got a medical condition. She said he was sweaty, and that is, you know, according to Prince Andrew, that is an absolute lie, because he doesn't sweat. You know, all the rubbish that he spoke in that interview that we're going to do a react on. I'm going to do a react on that because, you know, it's hard because they sort of, it's probably a copyright thing, but I think I can get around that. Because it was such a car crash interview, wasn't it? But he told so many lies. He is a liar. He exposed himself as a liar in that interview with Emily Maitlis. And we've just been talking about, you know, will he be relieved today to hear that Virginia is deceased? Or will it be, oh God, it's going to be all brought up again? You know, I mean, it's just so tragic, whichever way you look at it. So this is a young woman, really. 41 is young, especially when you get to my age. And there's her life been cut short. And I hope her family, it seems like her family have been trying to help her, but, you know, I don't know. And as I say, I don't know the reasons why she's estranged from her husband and her children. And apparently there was a restraining order taken out against her. So, you know, we don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I just hope she's at peace somewhere. You know, let's hope she's at peace somewhere. So a little candle for her. I hope you all join me in just saying a little prayer for her, because, you know, a little prayer for her soul and that, though I don't think she did anything bad to anybody. So I don't think she's got anything to worry about. I think she was a tortured soul, to be honest. And whether she's done it to herself or somebody's done it to her, I don't know. Just always seems strange to me how anyone who ever gets involved in any scandal just ends up dead, as far as the royal family is concerned, isn't it? How many people, you know, just like mysterious, isn't it, really? You know, so... Okay, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for caring about Virginia. And as I say, little prayer up, did definitely praying for Virginia today. It was a big shock that when I saw it this morning. I mean, I know we saw that article not long ago about her having this crash and that horrible picture of her with the bruises, etc. And she said then she only had 4 days to live. But then after that, she was released from hospital, and then, you know, the police said she was making a big fuss about nothing. You know, she's been sort of, I don't think she's been listened to, has she? She's obviously, you know, going through something. But anyway, she's made her decision. I just hope she's at peace. So thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Rest in peace, Virginia. And may your God go with you. Bye. Thank you so much.